For AI to actually matter, it has to work inside the way an enterprise already operates. It has to understand the data, know what workflow it belongs to, trigger the right action, and measure whether that action actually worked. That's what we're building at V. Not a collection of disconnected AI tools, but a system where data, infrastructure, agents, and products work together to turn intelligence into action.
At the foundation of that system is the data web. The data web isn't a database. It's a continuously updated, privacy-safe network that connects healthcare data across clinical records, claims, engagement signals, operational systems, and external sources, covering 96% of the US households and over 190 million de-identified patients. What matters most is structure. Data is governed, traceable, and queryable, so every AI application on the platform is working from the same source of truth. That shared foundation is what enables everything else.
The V data web is powerful, but the data alone doesn't create outcomes. The hard part is everything that happens between the data and the product. How does a model access the right data? How does an agent know what workflow to trigger? How do we monitor what happened after the action? That's a layer my team is building. It's the platform and API layer that connects the data web to Activate, Engage, Operate, and Pulse. Instead of teams manually pulling data, writing queries, moving lists, or checking whether something happened, we're building the system that makes those workflows repeatable. The products can access the data web in a consistent way. The agents can operate inside real workflows, and the outcomes can be measured back against what actually happened. That's what turns V from a set of products into a true execution platform. When I think about an agentic workflow, I think about a chain of actions. Something happens, that's a trigger. The system reads a signal, sends it to the right agent, and then that agent performs a task. Then it can hand off to another agent, another system, or a human when needed. So it's not AI sitting outside the workflow, it's AI moving through the workflow. A dashboard can tell you something happened, and an agentic workflow helps the organization do something about it. Simple example is prior authorization or patient access. Today, a lot of that work still depends on people moving information back and forth. A doctor prescribes a therapy. A form needs to be completed. Insurance information has to be checked. Missing fields have to be found. Someone has to follow up. Someone has to send the case to the right place. And if anything gets stuck, the patient waits. An agentic workflow changes that. One agent can identify what information is missing. Another can prepare the right documentation. Another can route the case to the right system. Another can monitor the status. And when something is too complex or needs human review, it can escalate to the right person. That's the important part. The agent doesn't replace the expert. It removes the bottleneck around the expert so the routine work can move faster and the complex cases get attention sooner. That's where AI starts to become operational.
Activate focuses on predictive and precision targeting to identify who to reach, where to reach them, and why. Engage focuses on retention and lifetime value, using adaptive and personalized intervention instead of static rules. And Operate brings AI into the full operational excellence, helping organizations reduce operational costs and automate work that used to require manual effort, such as forecasting staffing demand, identifying energy waste, when supplies or equipment will run low, and helping teams act faster with confidence. Each product solves a different problem, but they all run on the same underlying intelligence. That's what allows us to measure performance continuously and tie it back to real ROI.
The real reason this matters is because most enterprises don't have a shortage of data, they have a shortage of execution. They have dashboards, reports, and signals, but the real question is what happens next? Who should be contacted? What workflow should start? What should be automated? What needs a human? That's where the system matters. When the data web, infrastructure, agents, and products work together, AI stops being a side project. It becomes part of how the enterprise operates. That's how V actually works. For customers, this always comes back to ROI. Before we deploy an agentic workflow, we need to understand the use case and define what success means. Are we reducing cost? Are we increasing conversion? Are we reducing manual work? Once that's clear, the system can measure it. If an agent is making calls, we can measure how many calls were completed, how many were converted, what the cost was, and how that compares to the previous process. If an agent is supporting patient access, we can measure whether patients are moving faster through the journey. If an agent is helping with engagement, we can measure whether the right people were reached at the right time and whether behavior changed. That's the difference. What we're building at V is the execution layer underneath enterprise AI. Because if the data is disconnected, the workflows are manual and the products don't share the same intelligence. AI stays experimental. It might create insights, but it won't change how the organization runs. The system matters because healthcare doesn't need more isolated intelligence. It needs intelligence that can move through the enterprise and trigger the next best action. When all of that works together, AI stops being a side project.